Welcome back. This is lesson 8 of the Dynamic WordPress course for beginners. In our previous lesson, we talked about how you can query items and put them inside of listings and then use your filters to filter the items that you already have put on your WordPress page. Now, in this lesson, we're going to take it a step further, talk a little bit about queries, but specifically about a concept called archive pages. We're going to talk about how to build your archive pages, how to maintain them, and how archive pages really work inside of WordPress. So let's pick up right where we left off in the previous lesson. We're going to come back to our dashboard right now, and we're going to introduce you to the concept of archive pages. And to show you that, let's come inside of posts. And if you view the number of posts you have on your website right now, you see you have just 2 posts right here on your WordPress website. Now, how do you show the posts that you have on your WordPress website on a page specifically dedicated to showing these posts? Let me show you how it works inside of WordPress, and this will very easily expose you to archive pages. So let's just come back inside of here to where we have settings, and we want to come inside of reading. This is an options page specifically designed to help you set this up. You have here post page, and you see here you have nothing inside of your post page. What this is specifically asking you is the question of where do you want all of the posts on your WordPress website to show up? So to specify that, we're going to come inside of where we have pages and we want to create an archive page. And this can get very confusing because a question may be in your mind. Do you have to create a page when you want to generate an archive page? What is an archive page? We'll see. Now, inside of pages right here, let's click on add new page and we want to generate a new page. The page here, we're just going to call it blog. Once we call it that, we can click on publish. It's going to ask us, are you sure? I'm going to say yes. So I'm going to publish it and the page is ready to be viewed in the front end. Right now, it just shows the title here for blog and nothing else on the page, which means therefore that this page is not really recognized just yet as the page where all of the blog posts are supposed to show. So how do we make that work? We're going to come back inside of reading. Let's just refresh this so that we get an updated list of all of the pages. And inside of post right here, we want to select blog. Once we do that, we can come down here to save changes. And when we save the changes, we can come inside of the front end here, back to the same page that we created as a regular page. And we want to refresh this. Once we refresh this, what do you see? Now you have the list of your blog posts right here. Now, all of this is determined by the theme, the Hello theme, which I have installed. If you followed from lesson 1, you will understand the concept I am talking about here. Now that we know that this happens, how about if we come back to our dashboard? Let's try something out right here. Remember that we also created a custom post type called projects. So let's come inside of Jet Engine here and come to post types and look at the projects post type again. Once you edit that, you see inside of here that the post type has a slug of its own. Remember, what we just checked in the front end was the post type of blog or blog post, right? That's the post type we checked in the front end. We want to check the post type of projects. To check that, let's just copy what is the slug right here. And we want to come inside of here. Let's just, in the front end, we could duplicate this tab right here. And instead of having blog at the end, we want to have instead projects. So let's put that as the end right there and click on enter. Once we do that, what do you notice? You notice that it loads up an archive page for projects, and inside of here, we have the list of the projects we have on our website. This is handled again by the WordPress theme, right? So why is there a discrepancy here? Why is it that when we needed to create an archive page for our blog, we needed to first create a regular page and then attach that? But when we needed to do that for projects, we only needed to go to the slug for projects. And that's because archive pages are generally handled differently when it relates to post types versus custom post types. For the blog post type, which is created by WordPress, WordPress doesn't have any URL at its disposal to make use of. Well, Jet Engine provides us with one inside of here once we select the post type slug. And once you try to access that slug in the front end right here, you do not need to create a page, a specific page. For this reason, it just automatically creates an archive page for you. In fact, if you try to use this exact same link right here, as you can see, project, if you try to use that, you're just going to come back to pages here. Let's try to add in a new page here called project and see exactly what happens right here. What we want to do is to add a new page and give it the exact same slug that we have here inside of projects. Let's do that. We're just going to call this projects. And once we type that inside of there and we click out of it, we see once we hit publish, let's just hit publish right now. You see the link right here. If we take a look at it, if we just copy the link, put that link inside of here, you see that's the same projects. The exact same link we used for a regular page. If we're using that same exact link as we did for a post type such as this, as we see inside of the slug, let's see what happens. Once we click on enter, let's view it in the front end. You see it refers us right back to the archive page. Now, what does this tell you? That for custom post types, especially when you create one with Jet Engine, as I just showed you right now, you do not need to create a specific page using the exact same URL. I'm going to tell you about that in a bit, but first, let us define our terms. What is an archive page? An archive page is a page that is automatically generated by WordPress based on a certain grouping criteria. So you may ask, like what? I showed you an example. You create a post type, you load up that post type using the slug, the same slug for the post type in the front end, and whatever loads inside of that URL is an archive page generated on the fly. Another example is loading up the page that will show all of the list of posts associated with a particular author, an author on your WordPress website. A third example is if you're loading up a page, a terms page, let's say a category page or your blog posts. So that also is an archive page because you do not need to create pages as we know them inside of WordPress. These pages are generated on the fly, and whatever posts show inside of those pages will be posts associated with that grouping criteria, whatever that grouping criteria is. So let's make all of this make sense by coming back right here to the WordPress dashboard. We want to close all of this out because now it's time for us to, just prove that when you create a page, a regular page, and that page is taken up by an archive page, the page itself becomes almost useless. And I'm going to show you that right now. Let's say you come back to the page right here. Let's see all pages. And remember that we generated a new page. We called that page here projects. And that page now is being made use of by the automatically generated archive page, right? Great. Now let's try to edit that project page. Let's just say we want to edit this page and we want to add some specific elements to this page. Let's do that. We're going to come inside of edit with Elementor and just edit that projects page. Let's see what we can do here. We notice one thing right out of the box here that it says, sorry, the content area was not found in your page. You must call the content function in the current template in order for Elementor to work on this page. And then you get confused. You go like, well, what is this? How come I'm not able to do anything right here? How do I go forward from here? The fact is, you cannot go forward. You have to go back. And why? Because of the fact that when an archive page is automatically generated, you cannot make changes to the content of that page by just simply editing the page that it overtook. Let me show you. If you come back here to the dashboard, let's leave that as is. As you can see right here, even if we trash this project page right now, let's move it to the trash. We're going to come inside of trash. We're going to also delete everything inside of trash permanently, so that it's completely gone. I'm going to come back inside all pages. You see the projects page is completely gone. It's not there, right? But if you come back to the front end and you refresh this, you notice you still have the archive projects right here, right? So to make changes to it, you instead would need to come inside of the dashboard here, come back to Crocoblock, and inside of Theme Builder, you want to open that. Let's open that in a new tab and test things out right here. Now, what page template do you want to create? This is an excellent opportunity for me to show you the tree view, which I mentioned to you in a previous lesson that is pretty easy for you to deal with something like this. Let's open up the tree view. It's just a different view from the grid view right here. And as you can see, you have kind of like a map of everything, every aspect of your WordPress website as it is, right? If you notice right here, you have entire site, you have the number 1 here, and it means therefore that we have one template that works on the entire website right now. And that template is the template that we made use of for our header and our footer right now, which you can see the middle here has no existing template working on it. This is automatically generated by the theme. We're going to modify that in a bit. But you also take note that if you go to the home page, you also see the exact same header and the exact same footer as you see inside of the archive page right here and at the bottom here. Right? So it means that that template works in the entire site. But we also would need to make changes to this archive page here. For the project archive page, if you take a look at it, you have all archives. So you can add a new template here to modify all of the archive pages. Or you can add a template here to modify the blog post archive pages. Or you can have the project CPT right here, which is the custom post type we created. We can add an archive page template inside of here to modify the content of that archive page. And whatever you add inside of here is going to modify all of the archive pages related to the project CPT. Archive pages like what? It's also going to modify the archive page such as the skill taxonomy archive page, which you see is right here attached to that particular CPT. If you open up skill inside of here, let's open that up and just view this in the front end. Let's just take a look at that. What are you looking at right now? Is it a page in WordPress or is it an archive page? You guessed it right. It's an archive page. And this is because it's automatically generated and you can see the number of posts, just this one post associated with brand design. And if you check inside of brand design here, you see the count is 1, and that's why we have just one item inside of here. But remember, what we're here for is that we need to make changes to the design of this page. So let's close that out, close this out too. And here we want to generate an archive template for our project CPT. So to do that, let's click on plus right here. And once you click on add template right there, you see it automatically generates your conditions for you. And here you have the include condition. It says it wants to include by archive, and it says all project archives. So that is very definitive. In fact, that's what we need. We can very easily click on create right here. But first, let me show you how to do this in another way. If you're inside of the grid view right here, all you need to do is click on create new template. And here you have no conditions. So you have to click on add condition. Then you say include. Then you go to archive. And then you go here, select all project archives. Same thing, but this makes it very simple. So let's come back to tree view. Click on project CPT. Click on add template here. It generates your conditions. And right now we can click on create. Now, inside of body here, we want to add a new theme body. It's going to ask us whether we want to create a new template or add one from library. Let's create a new template because we have nothing right now. The template content type, we're going to say it's Elementor, and the template name, we're going to say this one is for, what do we call it? Let's say projects, templates, archive. Whatever we want to call it, it's entirely a choice. It doesn't really matter as long as the conditions are correct. Once you're done, click on create and we're inside of the template that has been created. What you need to do now is just click on go to editor. It's going to open up Elementor and you have your archive page ready to be used. Now, whatever changes you make right here will affect that project archive. So let's add a new container right here. We're just going to click on add container, come to Flexbox, add in the new container right here. And let's just add whatever we want to add to the page. Let's say we want to add a heading widget right here. And we just want to call this testing, whatever is my spelling. It really doesn't matter right now. Let's just click on publish. And we expect that when we come back to the projects page right here and we refresh this archive page, what do we find? We find testing or whatever is spelled here as the name. And we notice that the header and the footer templates are not here. So we can come back to the theme builder and we want to specify, instead of creating a new template, we're just going to add this from library, select this site-wide header. as the header right there. We also want to add for the footer, we're just going to use this right here. And we want to come back here. Once that's done, we want to come back to the projects page right here. Let's refresh this. We see we have this right here. So if you load up the archive page, the dynamically generated archive page of projects, you have this right here. And you can very easily begin to add items to it. What kind of items do we want to add? Well, we have an idea. We're just going to come back inside of here. Let's get rid of this container and do things the way we're supposed to. Now, the next thing you want to do is that you want to create a simple container. Let's just, try to eyeball things, try to make things look okay. I'm not very concerned about design aesthetics right now. All I need to do is show you how to build stuff, okay? So once you create this, I'm going to come inside of the container, and let's say I want to give that a minimum height of, using VH, viewport height. I want to adjust this to, let's say, 30. Let's make this 30 VH, which will mean 30% of the height of the page. And that should be fine. Let's maybe give this a background color, maybe a global background color such as this. That should be okay. I'm going to come inside of add element right now and give it a heading of maybe H1 right here. And I want to bring that H1 that's heading inside of the middle of that container. So I'm going to come back to that container, and inside of justify content right here, I'm going to justify to the center right now. And this is okay. So inside of here, I want to maybe call this projects. Okay. And maybe I also want to, inside of here, add a text editor widget and just say something like view some of the projects I have worked on. Now, this is okay. I mean, you can make this look anyhow you want it to look. It's entirely okay. But for now, let's just click on publish. Let's come back to the projects in the front end. Let's just drag it here, refresh this, and we have things, working very well for us right now. Things are looking good. All we need to do now is to put the listing of all of the projects just as we had on our homepage. We need to put that right here inside of this archive page. So to do that, we're going to come back to, let's say we want to come back inside of the home page right now. We want to grab what we have inside of here. Let's just edit with Elementor. We want to edit that home page, grab that listing widget out of there and put that inside of here. So let's create a simple container for that. For the first one here, that was fine as a section. So we're going to come inside of additional options here and put that as a section. The second container here is also a section. And inside of this one, we want to then specify all of the projects. Let's just give this a top and a bottom padding for the second container right now. And the padding top here, we want to adjust this to rem. And we want to unlink the values. The top value, let's say we want that to be about 5 rem. And the bottom, we want that to be about 5 rem. So we can give it, some good space, top and bottom. Now we want to come back to our home page right now, and we want to grab that listing grid widget. Let's just right click and grab that listing grid widget. We want to come back inside of here, right click, paste, and let's see how things are looking. This looks okay. Maybe I can reduce the padding top and bottom of this just a little bit, maybe 2 or 3. 3 is fine. 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom is okay. We're going to click on publish right now. Let's come to the front end for projects. Let's refresh that, see how things are looking. This is looking absolutely marvelous. This is looking great. So we have a list of our projects. They're all here. And clicking on any of these projects, let's say we want to click on Samer, it loads up the single page where the project of Samer shows up. Let's come back right here to where we have the list of our projects. And I want to tell you about something that may be a problem with what we just did. Because remember, where we copied this from was our home page. In fact, if you come back inside of here and just select that listing grid again, you take note that inside of here, when you come to custom query, you have query of all projects on the site as the query that determines this. But you also remember that the entire template, the project's template that we created was created because we needed this to work on all of the project's archive pages. So let me just show you a problem that may arise with doing it this way. Let's come back here to the dashboard, and where we have here projects, we want to select the skill, which is what is associated with all our projects, right? Let's say we want to view brand design in the front end. Let's just view that. You see, you have here projects, and right here you have all of the projects. Even though brand design only has one item, you see right here you have 4 of these items showing up. And it means there is a problem with how we are retrieving things from the database. There is a problem with our query. Why? Because our query currently states, get all of the projects that are on the website. Let's confirm that query. We're just going to come back inside of Jet Engine, come to Query Builder, edit that. Let's just drag that inside of here. We're beginning to have too many tabs right now, so let's just try to close things out and get things looking very nice. Okay? I don't like too many tabs in my face. It's a problem for me. I can't think properly because it's information overload, technically. So we close all of these out. We have 4 tabs. I can leap with that. Let's come back inside of our queries list right here. And remember the query on which that is based. This query simply says, query all of the projects you see right here, which has a status of published. So if you try to view that tab of brand design, that particular, archive page of brand design, it's basically using the exact same query. So it means that this needs a universal query, a query that can work for all of these situations. And how do you create such a query? It's pretty simple. We're going to come inside of Query Builder right now, come back to the Query Builder main page. And what we want to do now is add a new query. Once we click on add new, we're going to say query of projects, and then maybe just call this archives. Okay. Now inside of query type, this is where it's different. Instead of specifically selecting that we want a post query and we want projects as the custom post type, we're going to select instead here that we want our current WP query. So we're going to select that. And what that means is that wherever this query loads, for example, if it loads on an archive page, I want you to look at the archive page with the context of the archive page and think about what is supposed to load on that archive page. And if it's supposed to load a number of posts associated with brand design as a skill, then load those, right? I don't need to manually specify that. Meaning this particular current WP query cannot work on the home page, because on the home page, there's a simple page on which you add stuff. You can query a number of things and just put it on that page. This kind of dynamic template, you need to specifically give it a query that is also dynamic. So inside of current WP query right here, we can leave everything else as is, but inside of post page, we can decide to specify how we want things to function. So we can say we want to add page type, and the page type here, we want to say, let's say for the page type of projects, we want to maybe give it a post number of an initial post number of, let's say 4. So if they're more than 4, then you need something to go from page to page so that it doesn't load all of the items at once. If we're using this same query on the post type of posts, we're going to say, okay, we also need that the maximum that it can show on the page, on the archive page, should be 4. So we have one single query to rule them all. Very easily, we can click on add new query. And what we have here is query of projects, archives. Now we can come back inside of projects after that has been created. Let's come back inside of the edit here. We want to refresh this because we want to retrieve the list of all of the queries that we have currently on our WordPress website. So let's select again this listing right here. We want to come back to custom query, and instead of using query of all projects on the site, we want to query of projects archives, and that's fine. And right now you see it says hello world and exit world because it is confused. It's thinking, well, are we on the blog page or where are we exactly? Because this is supposed to be a current context query. And right now we're not on the projects page, are we? So we're going to click on publish. We're going to come back inside of the front end right here where we have the skill of brand design. Let's refresh this and see the number of items that show up. Just one, Nema, which is the project that is associated with this particular skill of brand design. So this is nice. Now we can do something else. Let's just close that out for now. We want to come back inside of projects. Let's say we want to refresh this. This is the list of all of the projects. You see right here, it shows a maximum number of 4 items right now. It's still working correctly, except it's using a query that is in itself dynamic. Does that make sense? Now, we can also replicate what we just did right here inside of our blog post. Let's say we want to create an archive template for a blog post. We can very easily do that too. Instead of coming inside of pages and view all pages and then come inside of blog and then try to edit this using Elementor, you know what the right thing to do is, right? Because right now you see it says here, you're currently editing a page that shows your latest post. So let's try to use the template, which is the function that should work correctly here. So we're going to come back inside of Crocoblock right now, come inside of Theme Builder. We're just going to open Theme Builder. And inside of that, let's create a simple template for a blog post. We're going to be fast this time. We have no time to waste. Let's move very, very quickly. Inside of the tree view right here, let's create one for all of our archives on the blog post. We're just going to click on Add Template. Right now, it has added all our conditions correctly for us. All we need to do is create. Once we create that, we can say blog post archive as the template name right now. We can also give the header template, which is already created by here. We've selected the header template. We come inside of footer. We're going to add from library and use that too. And that's fine. Let's create one for the theme body. We're just going to click on create template right here. We want to select Elementor as the content type. And here we want to select blog template archive. That's fine. We want to click on create. It's created one for us. So we're going to click on go to editor, which is going to open Elementor right now. Let's close out that tab. We don't need that. We're fast. We're getting faster. And why? Because we're beginning to master this stuff, aren't we? We're going to come back inside of the previous one right here. Let's just copy this and come back inside of here, paste that inside of here. If you want to modify the design, you should absolutely do that. I really don't care about that right now, but just think about what can happen if you want to have different designs for different templates. You should absolutely do that. Inside of here, we can call that blogs. And then inside of here, we can say read some of my interesting articles or something like that. So this is okay. And here, this is fine because the same listing grid is very much attached to the same custom query, which is a dynamic query of, project archives. I shouldn't have called this custom query of project archives because it would also work for our blog post archives. And why? Because the query itself is dynamic, as I showed you previously. So we can modify that. That's fine. But right now we want to change the listing. We don't need listing of projects. We need listing of blogs. So we're going to select listing of blogs right now. Anyhow you want your listing grid to display, this is entirely your choice. I just want to come up here to where we have publish and click on publish. I want to come to the front end right now and let's try to replace this with blog, which we called it, right? Was it blog? Yes. We call that blog, and you have here the blogs, read some of my interesting articles, and you have the articles showing up right now. And that's because we changed the listing, using the same listing grid, but the query is the same. The query just queries stuff based on the current context. So let's come back to the query right now, and we want to edit the name of that query because it's not telling us what this really does. Let's change that from query of projects archives to query of posts types archives. That's okay. And I'm gonna click on update query and that should be okay. It's not making any change programmatically. All it's making a change to is the name of this query, just so we can remember that in the future. Review that again in the front end. Let's just refresh to confirm and everything looks exactly the way we want it to. Now, one question may be on your mind, and this is the last concept that we're going to cover inside of this particular lesson. What if we want to have more than 4 items, which we do have currently inside of our projects? Let's say we want to come back to our projects page and we have more than 4 items, but we only want to show 4 items initially and then go from page to page showing the rest of the items on that page. Let's talk about that right now. Well, Crocoblock provides us with a very easy way for us to do that. And to make that work, let me show you that by coming back inside our list of projects. Let's just come back to projects inside of our dashboard right here. And we want to add a new project. Let's click on add new project right now. And we want to add a new project. Let's come to set featured image. And let's say we want to use that featured image right here and click on set featured image here inside of the name of the project. We want to call that app niche or whatever that project name is. Right now, everything is fine. This is okay. All we need to do is click on publish. Now, if we come back to the list of the projects that we have right here on the archive page template and just refresh this, what do we have right here? we have all of the 4 items, but one of those items is missing right now, and that is because of the fact that inside of our query, we specified that we only need 4 items to show at once. So how do we show the 5th item right now? We already have JetSmart Filters installed because that is exactly what we need to get this to work. JetSmart Filters provides us with an excellent way for us to do this. You don't need to create a new filter to get this to work. All you need to do is to come back inside of the project's template. Let's come inside of that project's template. And right here, we can, if we want to, add a pagination widget. Let's just select pagination and drag that widget inside of here. Let's just bring that widget inside of there. That widget comes as part of JetSmart Filters. Now it's going to ask us the question, what is this for? As you can see inside of Pagination 4 right here, we can select Jet Engine because this is a Jet Engine listing. Absolutely. Inside of Apply Type, we can select, just as we did in the previous lesson, we can select maybe Ajax or Page Reload. For this one, let's select Page Reload right here. And then inside of Query ID, we want to specify the query ID for this particular listing, just as we did before. So let's say this is the query ID, Project Archive, and we can come inside of the listing, we can come inside of Advanced and specify the same query ID as the CSS ID right inside of here. We need one more thing to happen. After we click on Publish right now, we can come back inside of Query Builder. Let's come inside of that particular query on which we base that listing and specify the same query ID right there. Once we do that and we click on Update Query, we come to Project, we refresh that. Let's see if that filter is working the way we want it to. Let's come down here. We see it shows just 2 pages, which means that all of the entirety of all of the CPT, the post items inside of the post type of projects will be contained inside of just 2 pages. So whether we click on 2 or we click on Next, it doesn't matter. It's going to go to the same page right here. Once it refreshes, we see right now we have the last item inside of our project's CPT. And this here brings us to the very end of lesson 8 of this course. In lesson 9, we're going to talk about something else. That will involve building single page templates for all of the items that are inside of the different post types we have on our WordPress website. We're going to be dealing specifically with our project CPT and also our blog post CPT. And what that means is that when you click through to view each of these projects or posts, we want to be able to see things that we add dynamically to the page that shows up. We're going to talk about these in depth in the next lesson. We're also going to be manipulating the use of terms and the use of querying other similar items on the exact same page. You need to just hold your horses, and next week I'm going to show you just that. All you need to do is stay tuned for the next lesson. I'd love to get your feedback in the comment section below, so please leave those in the comment section below, whatever they are. My name remains Tobi Salami. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and until I see you in the next lesson, stay dynamic.